My name is Delicia Hand, Acting Associate Director for Consumer Education and External Affairs at the CFPB. Today's webinar will walk through one of the newest resources the Bureau is offering as a part of its efforts to support homeowners and renters facing housing insecurity as a result of the financial hardships brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's release of the Rental Assistance Finder is a new centerpiece of our efforts to increase consumer awareness and understanding of the resources available in their communities to help keep renters in their homes and avoid the heartache and financial pain of eviction. It also serves as a vital resource for landlords, especially the smaller mom and pop landlords who are struggling under their own financial pressures as a result of the pandemic. You're all here because you care as much as we do at the CFPB about the challenges homeowners, renters, and landlords are struggling with every day. So we thank you for joining us and doing all we can to connect them to the resources they so critically need. With that, it is my honor to introduce the Bureau's Acting Director, Dave Waggio. Dave?
Sure, thanks, Delicia, for that kind introduction, and thanks everybody for joining us today. At the CFPB, we're taking an all-hands-on-deck approach to respond to the housing effects of the pandemic. Helping people stay in their homes as we heal and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic is a top priority for me and the CFPB. We've worked hard to get the word out on housing relief options for people who need them. We have toolkits, blogs, reports, bulletins, regulations, videos, press releases, and other online resources for the media, homeowners, mortgage servicers, renters, and landlords. Today, I am so pleased to announce another great resource, the Renter Assistance Finder tool. This online tool, available on our housing portal at www.consumerfinance.gov/renthelp, can help renters and impacted by the pandemic easily find and apply for assistance paying rent, utilities, and other rental expenses. This tool is just our latest action aimed at helping the nation recover and keeping families safe and secure. All across the country, renters and landlords have struggled to make ends meet during the pandemic. Almost 50% of renters saw their incomes drop over the last year, which has contributed to millions of renters being behind on their rental payments. And that is a serious threat to the economy and the well-being of families. The struggles of renters have been most pronounced among Black and Hispanic families who are more likely to rent than white families, and more likely to currently be behind on that rent. An eviction wave would hit communities of color the hardest and expose them to long-term health, social, and economic damage. The long-term damage would be particularly acute for Black women. Small landlords, too, are disproportionately people of color and disproportionately lower income. Small landlords, who own the majority of single-family and duplex rental homes, have been hit hard by the pandemic, even as the large, professionally managed landlord businesses have only experienced slight drops in their income. At the CFPB, we want these small landlords to know that we have help for them too. Using our tool, you can find local rental assistance options that can help put money back in your pocket. All evictions come with a cost for both the landlord and the tenant. And as we see a resurgence of COVID due to the spread of the Delta variant, they also carry the risk of increasing individual and community exposure to a deadly disease. As I noted in a joint statement with then acting chair of the FTC, Rebecca Kelly Slaughter, we will be monitoring and investigating eviction practices, particularly by major multi-state landlords, eviction management services, and private equity firms to ensure compliance with the law. Where we have authority, we will not tolerate illegal practices that displace families. Congress allocated $46 billion to help landlords and renters. The Treasury Department, along with state and local governments, have been hard at work setting up the systems to get that money allocated. Today's tool will help both landlords and tenants find the money they need to move forward together. Per Olstad, CFPB's senior advisor in our Office of Consumer Education, is now going to demonstrate the tool. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, and good morning, everyone. First off, I just want to, as I'm getting the screen share set here, I just want to start by acknowledging the hard work by not just the Bureau's team, but also our colleagues at Treasury, United States Digital Service, and the dedicated staff at the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Get the screen share here. There we go. Any tool like this is only as good as the data behind it, and without the collaboration of Treasury, USDS, and National Low Income Housing Coalition, we could not provide a resource like this. Before getting into the tool itself, I just want to flag that this is a complex system, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, with funding coming from the federal government, but implemented through over 700 state and local programs, including programs at the state, county, city level, as well as through tribally designated housing entities. Turning to the tool itself, which is aimed at trying to provide easy, understandable access to that complex system, I first want to just note that the Rental Assistance Finder is an important new piece of a broader set of resources for homeowners, renters, and landlords available on consumerfinance.gov/housing. For anyone who ends up at the Rental Assistance Finder tool through the specific URL for the tool, which Dave mentioned a moment ago, consumerfinance.gov/rent-help. They can easily explore the rest of the housing portal resources through the left-hand navigation, including additional information around eligibility criteria and broader programmatic issues around the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Getting to the tool itself, you can see here at the top of the screen, we offer some explanatory text, but we have kept that text very brief in order to get users into the functionality of the tool as quickly as possible. Now, the tool is essentially a filtering function. So if none of the filters are entered, what you see is the list of all 481 rental assistance programs loaded into the underlying data. Now, I want to acknowledge up front that there are more programs than 481. The criteria for being in the tool is whether or not there is a public access point for renters or landlords to begin the process. That can be either, typically that will be a web portal of some sort, but can also just be a phone number. As more programs do launch such a public access point, you should see that number rise, the number of programs in the tool itself. Now, going back to how the tool works, we start off with a narrow filter for state or territory. You'll see once you click on that search box, you see a pull down menu, so you can scroll down to select your state or territory. It is also a type ahead function, so you can just start entering in the first few letters. I'll select Virginia to demonstrate this. And then you should be able to narrow down the list of states or territories, and you can select the one most appropriate to the user. Now, scrolling down, I'll come back to the tribal filter as well, but scrolling down to the results, you see that filtering by Virginia narrows the 481 programs down to 3, Virginia, Chesterfield County, and Fairfax County. Again, there's relatively brief information provided in the results. We are trying to focus the users of the tool, the renters and landlords who need this, as quickly as possible on the key information, which is how to start the process. So we briefly describe the state or territory of residence, the name of the program, and the type, meaning is it a state, county, city, or tribal program. But I really focused on this action step of getting started with a link to the best access point for the program. Scrolling back up, for larger states, and I'll use Texas as an example, you'll see that there are 31 programs that meet the criteria of Texas for the state and territory filter. For any state where there are more than 5 programs, an additional filter will pop up to narrow the results by county. So scroll down and select Dallas County in Texas. So now there are only 5 programs that meet the combined criteria of Texas and Dallas. You see Texas, Dallas City, Dallas County, Garland, Texas, and Irving, Texas, just outside of Dallas. So we advise consumers at the outset that when there's more than one program that show up in the results, they start with the program closest to them. So scrolling back down to the Dallas Texas results. If someone lives in the Dallas city lines, they should start with the Dallas City program. If they live outside of the Dallas city lines, but in Dallas County, they should start at the county program. Similarly, if they reside in a part of Garland or Irving that is but in Dallas County, we'd recommend starting with Garland or Irving and then going to Dallas County. Scrolling back up, turning back to the tribal or tribal lands filter. There are well over 100 approved tribally designated housing entities approved by Treasury for participation in the program. You can select the range of programs that have a public access point through this dropdown. You can choose the tribal filter, whether if you are a member of the tribe or if you live on tribal lands, depending on the program criteria for that specific tribally designated housing entity. So just to sort of make up a use case here, let's assume someone lives in Dallas County in Texas, and they're a member of the Apache tribe of Oklahoma. They could add that. This is an additive filter. So it won't narrow the results further. It will just add the Apache tribe of Oklahoma program to the results. Now, I also want to flag a couple kind of bigger picture features, but just quickly to sum up, we have tried to keep this as easy to use and focused as possible to quickly get people to the best portal to begin the process at their state or local level. I did want to flag that we have built this tool with sort of a mobile first approach. We know that roughly 70 to 75% of the traffic we see to the interagency housing portal, especially on the renter side, is coming through mobile devices. I can't actually screen share my mobile phone to show you this, but if you shrink down the screen size to roughly the dimensions of a mobile device, you see this is how the program or how the page will show up on screen. Again, part of why we focused on narrowing results anytime there's more than 5 is so that there's just not a very long list that people would have to scroll through on a mobile device. Some other big picture pieces I wanted to flag. Today's release is just an English version of the English language version of the tool. We are working on a Spanish language version of the tool as well. We have a sense of urgency there. As next on our list, we will keep you all posted when that is ready to go live. And I also just want to flag that we do intend to keep iterating on the tool beyond just providing a Spanish language version. We will seek to add, we're exploring ways of seeking to add more relevant information here in the results, things like are programs currently accepting applications or not? Can we provide greater specificity around the program served through any particular program? And again, we will keep you updated as we add more functionality to the tool. And again, I do want to thank our colleagues at US Treasury, USDS, and the National Low Income Housing Coalition, who play such a critical role in maintaining the data underlying the tool. In closing, I will just note that the Bureau and our interagency partners have been working closely together to provide assistance to homeowners and renters since April of 2020, and we will continue to do so. The launch of this tool is a significant step, but we're by no means done. In the coming weeks, we will do all that we can to connect homeowners, renters, and landlords with the resources they need to stay in their homes and in control of their finances. With that, I will just thank you again for joining. And I believe if there's time, we can take a few questions, and I will turn it back to you, Delicia.
Sure. Thank you so much, Per. As a reminder, if you do have a question, you are able to note that question in the chat function in the bottom right of the WebEx screen. So Per, we do have a couple of questions, and I'll just read them to you. First question is, can you receive relief from multiple programs, or is there a limit?
Much of the program implementation is at the local level, and I think the best place to direct those programs are to the programs in the area. A national level response won't be as effective. I would direct questions about program limits and eligibility criteria to the local programs in the area.
Great. Next question we have is, Whether you could elaborate on your comment about living on tribal land, specifically the person doesn't have to be Native American.
Yes, and again, I would urge contacting the program for the tribally designated housing entity. But the way the statutory framework has been set up in the guidance from Treasury, the eligibility criteria can include living on tribal lands, not just being a member of the tribe itself. But again, I would direct questions specifically to the local program.
Thank you. Are there any plans to open up an API for developers to query the data directly?
I think what I would do is direct most people for deeper questions on the data to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, which has a publicly available sort of massive database of a range of different data questions. So I would direct folks to the National Low Income Housing Center's website.
Thanks. We've got quite a few coming here. Next question, could you please confirm if the resources will be updated on the website as the funds from some programs will be depleted?
Yes, we will be continually updating the program. Often the program updates will not be real time, like to the second, but we will be continually updating the data and the tool itself.
Thank you. Is there any guidance on the qualifications that renters, et cetera, must have to qualify for funds?
Yes, there is. There's both, and I think you can still see my screen. On the left-hand navigation, you see the menu option of find help with paying your rent. This is a page full of additional resources and sort of a question and answer format, but not exactly, on a range of different issues on the Federal Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Again, sort of beating a dead horse, but the specific program requirements can also be set at the local level. So I do always encourage people to check with local programs, but there is general guidance here on the housing portal as well.
This next one addresses mortgage payments. Are there any programs that assist in paying past due mortgage payments and not just delaying them until the end of the loan years away?
Yes, there is, and that program is a slower start. The Homeowners Assistance Fund, the Treasury is also administering, is beginning to stand up now. And I think you can look for more and more information on that. There were $10 billion established for that fund through the America Rescue Plan. And again, more guidance from Treasury and from the state housing authorities that will be implementing those programs will be coming in the weeks to come. But yes, is the answer. There will be more. There will be assistance available for homeowners as well.
Great. Looks like we've got time. Let's do another. We still have some questions going through, so I'll just keep going, Per, if that's okay.
Great. Yes, please.
What should someone do if a county or city is not listed in the dropdown but has a program?
So if any program administrators or staff related can certainly just let us know, and we will coordinate with our colleagues at Treasury and USDS, or directly let Treasury know, we can provide an email inbox. Put one in the chat here in a moment. But please do let us know if it's not listed, and we can load that into the data. For consumers or renters, if a program, I'll try and do a quick example. So American Samoa, for example, if there is not information currently available, what the tool will do for anyone who's using it is direct them to other resources in the area that may help them best identify the additional resources, especially housing counselors who are providing rental assistance, and advice about how to get, or information about how to get advice on legal rights.
Great. And seems like maybe the last question here is, can people apply to more than one assistance program, for example, state and county program?
We encourage you to start with your the local program. I think, again, you'd have to direct the specific program requirements to the program. But I would not encourage people to submit multiple applications. I would start with your local program, the most local program.
Next question, any pathway to homelessness services assistance?
It's a great question. Among the additional iterations that we will be working on in the coming weeks are providing more assistance to people who do in fact get displaced from their housing, for both homeowners and renters. So that information is not currently available in the housing portal, but it is high on our list of the next iterations of providing more information.